telescope is an extension of its owner that allows us to peer into the universe to see nature on the grandest scale, with wonders that boggle the imagination. Okay, so anyway, this is a Galaxy log for March 3rd of 2022, and I have it subtitled, Newton Would Be Proud. So first galaxy I went to that night was NGC 2950 in Ursa Major. It actually was funny because it was a galaxy that I had on my list to do prior when we were observing together. It's it's a nice bright galaxy and it's easy find. And here it is in Ursa Major. And it's a close-up view of it, where it's at. Easy to find if you're star hopping. And here we go. It's the date. Here's the particulars of the galaxy. Fairly bright galaxy, 10.9, 12.5 surface brightness, fairly good size, an SPO galaxy, and it's 63 million light years. And this is with my 12-inch f4 Dob. The eyepiece was a 3.5 millimeter, so I'm up there in magnification, 343 magnification. The sky conditions were very good. So as you can see, for Galaxy Log tonight, we have a special guest, and it's Rob Corvari. And Rob has been observing with me for a long time, for nearly 30 years. And some of these galaxies, I think the next galaxies we'll talk about, we also looked in your scope, so we can, I don't know if you ever seen this galaxy before, Rob? This 2950?
I have.
You have?
Yeah, but I think I saw it from DS2, to tell you the truth.
DS2, an old, long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so it is small, but it is bright. And, when I had a lower magnification, I wasn't seeing a whole much. I said, you know what, I'm going to put the 3.5 millimeter in, 110 degree field eyepiece, and take a look at it. And the galaxy showed it was a faint little stellar nucleus and a big elongated core, kind of going, northwest to southeast, maybe almost north-south. And then it had this outer disk, very faint outer disk on it that was harder to see in lower magnification. But when I pumped the power up, it really increased the contrast of the sky. And it was interesting because our buddy Chris was up there that night, who also has been a long-time observer with us. And one of the things we noticed, both of us noticed, was that south or southeast of the core was more galaxy than it was on the other side of the galaxy. You could actually see there was kind of an extension going this way. So Chris noticed that, and then so yeah, you could see that. You could see that it was a little more extended to the south and southeast, which was interesting. And with lower magnification, I didn't really see that, but high magnification, it really brought that out. So it was an interesting little galaxy. And when I do these galaxy logs, I always talk about, can this galaxy be seen with smaller telescopes? Because I'm using a fairly good sized telescope, a 12-inch. It's under 11th magnitude. It has high surface brightness. It's decent size. So if you have like a 4-inch refractor, in fact, I had it on my list to observe with a 4-inch refractor, or even my 4.7 Apo. But I thought it was a good night to go for this guy, and I was really, you could tell the sky conditions were good that night, not only with transparency for the dark site we were at, but also the seeing conditions were good. So it allowed us to really pump up the magnification. So I thought it was an interesting galaxy, and I'm glad I went for it. Even though, like I said, I had it on my list to observe, actually with the smaller telescopes, but it was neat to get it with the 12-inch.
And did you get any dark dust lane up there in that northeast
No,
edge?
no,
That might be interesting to see
no.
under better conditions.
Yeah. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Um, but like I said, there was some structural detail I could see, and which was interesting. And it wasn't like, oh, that's not a figment of my imagination. That I was seeing more. The galaxy extended more to the south and southeast. And like I said, Chris, looked and sat down at the eyepiece and looked in there, and he says, yeah, he said he saw that, and I looked in there and said, oh yeah, you can see that it's definitely extended. So
Yeah, and the photos show that very clearly too.
yeah,
So
so it's neat. Yeah, that's one of the things I did look. Of course, when I created the interview, I see the photograph, and it was interesting to say, oh yeah, you could actually see that. You could actually see that in the photo. So it's neat that we can pick up some photo detail, which is cool. Then really nice interacting pair here that I really like a lot, Leo Minor. And I mentioned also in the previous Galaxy log, because I did some Leo Minor galaxies, about how Leo Minor is kind of like like the little kid on the block compared to its neighbor to the south, Leo, and then its neighbor to the north, Ursa Major, kind of wedged in between there with all those great galaxies in both Leo and Ursa Major. But boy, Leo Minor's got a lot of nice galaxies. And I know, one of the galaxies that you're going to be talking about that you observed with your larger scope was in Leo Minor. But
and we talked about it that night that
yep.
It probably has more amazing galaxies per
its size. Yeah.
For its size, whatever
yep.
you want, however you want to describe the size in the sky, than almost any constellation.
Yep. Yeah, because you can see here's Ursa Major, great galaxies up in here. Here's Leo, great big constellation, great galaxies there, and here's a little old Leo Minor, like that. And there's a lot of galaxies in this region, and this is actually one of the finer interacting pair this time of year. Here's a close-up view where it's at. It's an easy star hop, easy to find. And here's my near view image, like that. And it's also an ARP. So we're going to be doing some ARPs tonight.
Yep.
And here's the particulars. 3395 is, of course, the western side galaxy. It's a little larger. It's a little brighter than 3396. And they're... it's one of those kind of pair that it's neat the way they also form, together at their ends are touching. This is, of course, with my 12-inch again, and the eyepiece was a 6.5 millimeter, which gave me 185 magnification. And here we go. Here's the near view image of what I was seeing. Now, here's 3395, which is the larger of the two, and had that nice elongated view. Now, I didn't see a stellar nucleus, but I could see a brighter core. You could definitely see that, especially with the higher magnification. I looked at it also with the 9 millimeter, and it gave a nice shot with the 9 millimeter with a 100-degree field. But the galaxies, they are small, and they just needed more magnification. But and then over here to 3396 has a bright stellar little core there. And then a nice elongation in its inner region there. And then this faint outer disk that it has. It does not stand out as much as its larger neighbor, but it really makes for a really interesting pair. I think I would like to go back to it again at a little bit darker sight and even more magnification to see if there's any more structure I can see. But I thought this view was actually pretty good. And then I know, Rob, we had it in your 20.
We put it in the 20, and it was a stunning view. And we traded off views with the 6 Ethos and the 6.5 Morpheus.
Yes.
And that was very interesting. And I was picking up a little more detail in the Morpheus, and I was really surprised to see the stellar nucleus in the fainter galaxy that I wasn't seeing in the ethos. Now you are picking up a little more magnification with the Morpheus, but not a lot.
Right.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Actually, it's the other way around. But
Right.
I still was able to see a little more through the Morpheus than I was through the ethos. But it really is a great view. I had it at about, let's see, I think about 300 power. So, there's a little more detail. The cores were a lot. The core of the brighter galaxy was much more noticeable, and you can see, like you were saying, where they're touching one another. You can
Right.
kind of see that clearly,
Right.
that they're interacting, which
Right.
is, even through the smaller telescope, you could see that, but through the larger telescope, it really did kind of give you the sense that you were watching an event happening.
Right.
You know.
It was interesting because I actually looked at it that night through your scope first, the larger scope, and it was when you had the higher magnification up. And then because I actually had it also at the same time in the 12, but I had the 9mm in there. And when I went over and looked in your scope, and I'm thinking, oh, you know what? This does need more magnification. I didn't go quite as high as you did, but like I said, I went from the 9 down to the 6.5, and definitely the magnification definitely helped bring out some subtle detail that it was still, like I said, it was still a good view in the 9mm, but the higher magnification really brought it out. And I was able to, and it was funny because when I went back to your scope and you were still looking at it and at 300 magnification, and it really, like I said, you could really see the detail. It was really popping. And then even when I had the 6.5 in there, went back and looked at it and really studied the pair here, and started really seeing detail that your 20 actually helped me, because my eye got trained on saying, okay, I could see this, I could see that. Okay, let me go back to the 12. Yeah, okay, I can see that. No, now, of course, not as easily as the 20, but it was there, and it really made a great view. I was really pleased with it. But here again, the next time we're out, I'm going to go at a darker site. I'm definitely going to go back to this and maybe even push more magnification to see if I can pick up some detail.
Yeah, and I would do the same. Actually, I wasn't at 300. I was more at like 275.
Right.
But I could definitely push that over 300 under better conditions.
Right.
Although the sky conditions were good that night, but I felt I was kind of maxing out at around 275.
Right.
Further than that, I wasn't really getting great results. But in that range of 190 to 275, the views were really good for
really good. Yeah, it was
for that location. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. That's a great pair. I usually always track that down in the springtime. That's always a favorite.
Right. And it's interesting going back for people, who want to really observe galaxies like we do, and how sometimes a larger scope can help the smaller scope, see that detail like that that you might have missed, that you go in there and you go look at the 20-inch and you go, oh, wow, the detail is right there in your face. And then you walk back to the other scope. And as I just mentioned, all of a sudden you're starting to see that detail. Yes, it will not stand out as like the larger scope, but it's interesting how a larger scope can also train your eye to observe for the smaller scope. But the smaller scope can do the same thing, when you're trying to really bring out detail in a smaller scope. And then when you use the larger scope, bang, that detail pops. So it's kind of like a give and take on both ways, but it's interesting.
It is. And I think that it's really, you make a good point, because one of the advantages of that is, let's say, for example, compared to, and I know you do too, but I'll consult like CCD images of certain galaxies, because I just want to see, like, okay, what can I try to track down here? But a lot of that you're not going to see visually, so you get a better idea of what the galaxy looks like from looking at the image, and it does help you to start to like look for certain details that you might not be aware of.
Right.
But you're also going to be, fooled into thinking there's things that you might be able to see that you're just not going to see, that because they're just showing up on the CCD image and they're not going
Right.
to show up visually. But when you're doing it from eyepiece to eyepiece, you know that it's, that you can see it
Right.
visually, and then you can
Right.
start pushing the limits of your telescope.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was funny because for this night with this pair, I've seen it, of course, before, and especially like in my old 22 like that, and of course, it was a lot more detailed and so on than I was seeing here. But I think, because I was looking through your larger scope and was at the same time and seeing, that detail, I actually spent more time here, probably observing this pair more than I ever did before. I was probably at least 15, 20 minutes at the very least studying this pair with using the 6.5 millimeter eyepiece.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting. I really like it. I'm really anxious to go back to it, and I'm anxious actually to see what even with a smaller scope can do, to see what kind of, especially the darker side.
Yeah.
So then my last galaxy is an interesting galaxy. It's NGC 3377 in Leo, and it's kind of in the same area as what M95, 96. I think it's part of that group, M95, 96, and 105 trio. It's just north of them, and it's an easy find also. You can see there's 52 Leo, so it's real easy for star hopping. There's some other interesting galaxies in that, but this is another galaxy that I've been planning on because it's an interesting galaxy. And here's my near view image, and here's the particulars, and I'll get into it why it's an interesting galaxy. It's a bright galaxy, 10.4 magnitudes, fairly good size. It's an E5 type galaxy, 32 million light years, so it's out where, like I said, where those the rest of those Leo galaxies in that area is. This is with a 5 millimeter, so it's 240 magnification. And right away, I mean, you can see from my near view image, stellar nucleus, bright stellar nucleus, really bright. I mean, I actually wrote down in my notes, which I have here in front of me, vivid. And the reason is because it's a active supermassive black hole. So it's always really neat to see these galaxies, these big galaxies with the supermassive black hole, and it really stands out because you can really see that bright, vivid nucleus. So that I always find it interesting, even though it's not this big, beautiful spiral galaxy, or it's not as interesting looking as the two previous galaxies, the 3395 and 3396. But I thought, scientifically, this is fascinating because you can see the like I said, the stellar core just beams out at you. It's very bright, very vivid. And then it has this internal area here. It's kind of elongated. It's very bright. Then this very faint outer region of it. But it was funny because I was kind of like staring at the nucleus a bit, and it almost like did almost like a blinking nebula kind of thing, where you look at that nucleus and like that, and it just captures your eye, and it seems like the rest of the galaxy kind of fades away a little bit, and then you kind of look away and like that. Oh, there's like, wow. But I really was impressed by how bright this galaxy was and how much it stood out. But when I first found it at low power, it looked like a fairly decent bright star with this little halo around it. And then with the higher magnification, and it brought up the size of the galaxy like that. But it almost looked like a star that was slightly out of focus, something like that, where it was very bright towards the center, and then this faint disk around it. But the higher magnification, and I know I could have even gone higher than this, but it had a nice field of stars around it, so it made for a nice view. I really really like this one. But like I said, it was interesting to go to a galaxy like this that has some something really interesting going on within the galaxy, and it has this highly active supermassive black hole. So it's
Yeah,
I don't yeah.
no, go ahead.
I was going to ask I was going to ask you, have you seen this one before? Or
Not lately,
no?
but I'll check it out the next dark window.
Yeah,
I saw some photographs of it, and actually the central part of it is just photographically it much more it fills much more of the area than that stellar
right.
Core that you're showing there right now. It's really interesting. So yeah, I guess that's that active nucleus that you're talking about,
Right.
that's doing that.
Yeah, it is like I said, it is interesting. And there was another galaxy I did back in the fall. I think it was NGC 705-2, and that was another one that had this vividly bright nucleus, and also has a supermassive black hole. Also, that was really projecting this bright stellar nucleus. But this one would really, like I said, when I star hopped to it, and I had the low power eyepiece in there, wide field eyepiece in there. I mean, I recognized it right away, the galaxy, because like I said, you could see it looked like a fairly decently bright star with this little fuzz around it. I said, oh, that's the galaxy. That's 3377. And then I started going up in magnification. I think I went to the 185, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to go over 200. So I put the 5mm. This is 5mm with a 110-degree field of view. So, but it made for a really nice overall view. It's a really neat galaxy to go for. And here again, because of its brightness and its high, fairly good, decent surface brightness, it's another good one to go for, even on a small telescope. And there's some other interesting galaxies around it. So, but I thought this was interesting to go for. So.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting that you included it, because a lot of people, myself included, are guilty of avoiding the elliptical galaxies, except for M87, like everyone wants to.
Everyone does, right?
See M87, and when, a lot of times when I'm just kind of fooling around and I'm doing a search, say on Sky Safari or something, and I'll just be pulling up galaxies, and if it says elliptical, I'm just scrolling right past it, and it's like, but so I give you credit for putting that in there and getting so much out of it. I'll definitely check that out, the next dark window.
Yeah, because like I said, when you see that and you're thinking that the amount of of energy for it to, 32 million. I mean, it's not a real far away galaxy, but I mean, right away, like I said, when you look at it, even at a small scope, the nucleus is going to pop. So it is interesting to see that kind of neat thing that's going on in nature like that, and you can actually visually see that, and that's what's so cool about, I think, visual astronomy. So. All right, so Rob, we got
yes, sir.
You got your 20-inch. If you want to talk about it briefly.
Yeah, the 20-inch. I didn't think I was going to get to see through it again. It's been so long. At least for a good night, anyway. Yeah, so this is my 20-inch f3. It's a JP Astrocraft. It has a Mike Lockwood mirror in it, and I bought this used. It was in pristine condition. It was well kept from the person who had it made. I drove from Philadelphia area to outside of Georgia to get it, and it was over 4 years ago now.
That's unbelievable.
So yeah, so I'm just thrilled with the telescope. It is heavy to lug around, and I loaded in my car with wheelbarrow handles, as you can see in the photo, and some ATV ramps, and it breaks down. I can still do it. It's getting a little challenging more and more each year, but whenever I get it out and set up and get observing, I never regret that I have it or that I unloaded it up that night. So, and we had a good night up there last month, and the conditions were good, and the telescope was rocking. So I was happy that I brought it.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So Rob's first galaxies is going to be it's actually there's three galaxies. The main two are NGCs is NGC 2911, 2914, which are in Leo. Here's where it's at. It's actually between. It's kind of like caught in that triangle there of constellations of Cancer, Hydra, and then Leo, of course. But it is within the realm of Leo. There's a close up where the main galaxy 2911 is located. So then here's the two main galaxies are ARPs, which is interesting. Here are the particulars of these galaxies. Decently bright, decent size. As far as the main galaxy, which is 2911, which is right here, 2914, then it gets a lot dimmer and smaller. Then this UGC galaxy 5093, which is down here. And Rob, if you want to talk what eyepiece you used here and then whatever you saw.
Yeah, so this was a really neat pair, trio, whatever you want to refer to it as. It was a pair to me because I didn't get to see the UGC galaxy. It was just a little beyond my eyesight under those conditions. I might have been able to see it if I hung in there with it, but I tried for a few minutes and I tried to use averted vision, and I knew exactly where I was looking. I just couldn't quite get a glimpse of it, but that's okay. I mean, I know if I can get either better conditions from where we were or darker skies, that I'll come back to this group. But it was a really pretty pairing, and that 2911, it is an ARP galaxy, and it's got it's a large bright spiral, and it's got a very it's slightly elongated, and it's got a very bright central area. So it was very easy to see, and it's very big. So it makes a very good first impression in the eyepiece. And I fooled around with different powers. I was, because the conditions were pretty good that night, I was going back and forth between my 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, and 6 millimeter. As I said before, I think I went down to the 4 or 5 once, but I felt more comfortable in the 6, 8, 10 range. So that's kind of where I was with this. But when I got it in the 6 millimeter, it was actually a really nice view. And, like I said, 2911, really bright, bright galaxy with a central core area. And then 2914, slightly smaller, slightly dimmer. That's also an ARP. So the two of them made a nice pair together. Also, there was a very pretty star field around them too. So the whole combination, it was really interesting, kind of similar to what you were saying before. It was an aesthetically pleasing view. It was a fairly easy view. But it's really cool when you're looking at these ARP galaxies, knowing there's so much going on with them. So that's what made this kind of a special view for me, because it kind of covered all three areas for visual observing.
Right.
Now that UGC galaxy, it's almost a 15th magnitude galaxy. It's 14.9. I couldn't see that, so I'll like I said, I'll try that again. But these two are definitely worth seeing because of their the difference between them. One is big and bright, one's smaller, more compact and fainter. But they both have very bright stellar cores, and they're both very unique because of their being ARP galaxies. So they're not just your run-of-the-mill galaxy.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that whole view in there. Yeah. I stayed on that for a while.
What's interesting too, when I was putting this together, and you can see I put in the distance in light years. So 2911 is 155 million light years. 2914 is 150 million light years, and the little UGC galaxy 5093 is 150 light years, 150 million light years. What does that tell you then? This is the farthest galaxy, but look, it's a giant galaxy.
Yeah.
2911 is a giant galaxy. So, I wonder if it's ARP. I didn't read up on it, and I don't know how much information's out there on it. And I'm wondering if it's one of those kind of cannibalistic galaxies that, it does have an unusual look to it, that maybe it's enveloped another galaxy, another large, just made it larger. But it's interesting, to see that this galaxy is actually, according to the research I did, is 5 million light years farther out than these other two galaxies. And you can see it's a much larger galaxy. So it's an interesting giant galaxy. I don't know how much information's out there. I'll have to go to see if I can find any information on the galaxy itself.
It'd be interesting to find out what the width of the galaxy is.
The actual size, the mass, like that, how many Milky Way masses it is, because it's either that or these two are real small.
Well, that could be too, but you can see them, so they can't be that small.
They can't be that small, no.
Yeah.
So next, we go into Leo Minor, and a fascinating galaxy. It's NGC 3432, and here's where it's located. And then close-up view of where 3432 is. And it's also an ARC. Rob was an ARC guy that night. And then here's it's a fairly good, decent magnitude. Surface brightness is okay, 13.6. It's big. It's not far away. It's 29 million light years. And Rob, we have another eye. I guess the eyepiece, like the other one, was this field of view is a 6 millimeter ethos.
Right.
So, all right. So if you want to talk what you saw with the galaxy.
Yeah, well, this was a winner. I mean, this is just a stunning galaxy. I don't think I could see this galaxy too many times, or even too much in one night, especially under good conditions. It was just, it was a really good time for it. Like we said, the conditions of the sky that night were good. The galaxy was up high when I pulled it in. It was just in the perfect place to be observed, and I was just absolutely blown away by it. Even though I've seen it many times before, I think it's just one of those galaxies that that's the whole beauty of visual observing, and that's why you can come back to galaxies you've seen before, because they don't stop impressing you from different nights when you observe them. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? It's just like, they are stunning, and this one is no exception. So this is it's bright, it's large, it's another ARP, so it's got you can see that little distorted shape to it that we were able to see. The modeling in there, if you take away that top portion in the northeast there, Carl, like if you just say kind of remove that from the view right now, very similar to M82, except that it's got more distortion to it. So I want to come back under a little darker conditions and get that northeast edge part of it in a little more detail. I think that would really add to the length of the galaxy. I mean, if you look at that from tip to tip, it's a pretty long distance. It was filling my eyepiece as it was practically. And it's really pretty. It's framed by those field stars, especially those four that are right in, not in the galaxy, but in front of the galaxy, and then with that bright star off to the east, it really made again, this is what was so neat about the night. These were views that were aesthetically pleasing, and if you want to say scientifically, relevant, or however astronomically relevant. It's a great combination.
Right.
So yeah, there's also there is a little companion dwarf galaxy, if you want to show that off to
about here,
right off to the western edge of it, but
right about here.
it doesn't show up there even. It says it's 17th magnitude. It shows up in some photos that I saw, but I think that I think that distorted shape is probably the result of that dwarf galaxy, most likely. So that's at least, kind of knowing what's causing that shape, at least even if you can't see it, you kind of know it's like, hey, I know what's going on there, even though I can't. You can't fool me. I know what's going on there. Right. But I have in my notes that it was not to be over dramatic, but that's what I had. I had beautiful and dramatic.
Yep.
Was the view.
Yeah.
And I think
it was nice.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful view.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just stunning.
Yeah. I want to make sure that people are looking at I did miss right here where it says Leo. It's supposed to be Leo minor.
Yeah, Leo minor.
So I'll add that into the video, but it's in Leo minor. So a little bit of a slip up there, but yeah, it's really a great galaxy. It really is. Then
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say. Then we head south in the Sextans, and a great galaxy, a bright galaxy, NGC 3115, and it's kind of like, it's funny. It's kind of like on the border of Sextans and Hydra. It looks like it's closer towards Hydra, but that's where it's at.
Yeah.
It's in Sextans. Here's a closer view where it lies. As another easy star hop. And here you go. It's bright. This is the brightest galaxy in this galaxy log at 8.9. The 11.9 surface brightness, real high surface brightness. Big galaxy. It's 31 million light years away. And this view is with the 8mm ethos, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I fooled around with this too. I went down to the 6, but I kind of liked the view in the 8 because it gave me just the right kind of sweet spot between giving me the magnification so I could really kind of see what I wanted to see, but backing it off and giving me that really beautiful aesthetic view. And I love those combinations where you've got an aesthetic view and you're also able to get enough magnification that you can kind of get in there. So I got higher power on it, but I really just like the view better in the 8mm. And I'm just going to kind of consult my notes here because I took a lot of notes on this thing. So it's really, I have that it's almost like an optical illusion because, it's an elliptical galaxy. I mean, it's a lenticular galaxy.
Right.
I'm sorry, it's a lenticular galaxy, but it doesn't have your typical spiral features to it. So you've got this central part of the galaxy that's very, very bright. And it's not only the central, the central stellar nucleus there, but the elongation of the inner part of the galaxy, and then it's surrounded by the halo of the rest of the galaxy. So you're not getting, it's a little elongated, but you're not getting like this what you would get with like a typical spiral galaxy.
Right.
It's like, the spiral galaxy without the spiral shape.
Right.
And it always reminds me, the original The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yes.
Gort.
Yeah.
And the light comes across.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That's whenever I look at that, that's what it reminds me of, because it's that uniform. It's bright all the way from the far left edge to the far right edge. Everything you're looking at is the same intensity.
Right.
So you've got this like bright bar of light surrounded by this faint, like more like a halo, fuzzier
Right.
patch. But that bright strip just runs straight down
Yep.
and is uniform the whole length of it. It doesn't fade in and fade out. So it's kind of a very enigmatic galaxy.
Yeah.
I have large, bright, with a bright elongated nucleus. I think, for me, I think it kind of gives the impression of an edge on visually because it's lower in the sky.
Right.
I think if it was higher up, it might look different.
Right.
But that's just my opinion. But I think, the other thing I put, which I may have mentioned, I said that, it kind of looks like a galaxy within a galaxy.
Right.
But so that is, that's one of these galaxies it's unfortunate for how low it is in the sky, but it is really one of the most unique galaxies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And because it's so bright, you can really kind of take it all in, and it's amazing to see that kind of a galaxy that bright, that's so low.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. That surface brightness really helps a lot. Even though it is, for us northern observers, it really is low in the sky. But boy, I tell you though, it's striking when you look at it through a telescope. It really is. And I definitely want to do a near view image of it, and I want to do it with one of the smaller scopes. The 4.7 Apo or even the 6-inch f5 reflector. I want to.
I'm gonna have to look back to see. I think I looked at that in my 140 APM. I'm pretty sure I don't have those notes in front of me. I don't recall offhand, but I think I did. And if I didn't, I should, because it's definitely, it'd be a wonderful refractor.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I said. I definitely want to do a near view image of it with one of the smaller scopes. Probably the Apo. It'd be good. Be good.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, it's funny. My wife loves this photograph. She thought it was really neat, and the way it was set up. And it's a shame, like I said, there wasn't a third person there to take the picture with me sitting on my scope. But this was taken from the previous Galaxy log when instead of Newton. Now Newton would be proud, I'm sure, if he was out observing with us that night, because with a Newtonian reflector. And of course this picture here, and that is Rob with his 140 Apo, and that
my
was
new boots.
Yep.
And my new boots. You got to show the boots.
Yeah, we got nice and warm that night, like that. But some of my family members, my daughters and like that, really liked this picture. I thought it was really neat. They go, "Where are you at?" And I go, "I was taking the picture. There's nobody else there." But we got Rob there and like that. But that was a fun night. But now I have, like I said, I have 2 Galaxy logs. One Newton would have been proud of, which was be tonight. And then the previous one here with the 2 refractors, Galileo would have been proud of. That was a fun night too. I don't think the night conditions were quite as good as it was with the reflectors, but it was a good, fun night like that.
Yeah.
And some of these brighter galaxies that I did tonight, I would like to, especially like 3111, or excuse me, 3115. I would like to go with the Apo and see what it looks like, and actually do a near view image of it, and hopefully that'll be coming up. Dark window starts next week, so hopefully we'll get some nice clear skies. It was funny because you could see your getup here.
Yeah.
There's been some cold nights we've been observing in, but now that we're getting towards mid-March, and then towards the end of March and early April with the next dark window, we won't be observing in such cold nights, but anxious to get out. So
Carl, in that that night and the other night too. I think this night with the refractors, I don't know. I think it was colder than the night with the
With the
reflectors, but
reflectors, yeah.
the temperatures indicated that it was just as cold.
Yeah.
But I have 4 layers of pants on.
Yeah.
I've and you can see here I've got probably 5 layers on my top, 2 winter coats.
There you go.
I've got a down winter coat on under that maroon winter coat. The down winter coat doesn't have a hood.
Right.
So I throw this maroon winter coat over the down winter coat because it has a hood. And, you know, always before it was only my feet that got cold. And now with the new boots, it's just like, okay, as long as it's not windy, we can kind of go under any temperatures. You know, it's,
yep.
But it would be nice to, I wouldn't mind a 55-degree observing night.
Especially doing our galaxy observing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Rob, I want to thank you for doing this like that. It was a fun
thank
night.
You. Thank you for including me into your program. I enjoyed immensely. I hope I contributed enough for your viewers to you know, get some good pointers on some really wonderful galaxies.
Yep. All righty, Rob. Well,
all right.
That's it.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Okay, this is a summary of this galaxy log. And here's the dark site, the one we use a lot, which is about a 30-minute drive north of where I live. We were hoping actually to get to our darker site that night, which is another maybe hour drive to the northwest. But unfortunately, the call was for high winds that night. And that site, the darker site, is just under 2,000 foot elevation. It's a little more open. We thought it would just be too windy and the cold, and you know, the skies would probably be blowing a little bit. So it was just, we thought it was going to be just a rough night up there. So we decided to play it safe and come to the site. But transparency that night was actually really good. So we really did have a good night. This site's a bit lower. It's about 1,350 foot elevation. And it's a little more protected with the trees, and so, but so it wasn't as windy. We maybe had a slight breeze here and there once in a while, but it was actually pretty comfortable. Here's it at night. Pretty good dark side, pretty decent. And here's the scope I was using, the 12-inch. It's an Orion Optics UK 12-inch f4 Dob, which I really like a lot. I am so impressed by the optics of this telescope. It gives almost a refractor-like image. This background sky is very dark. It just seems to be no light scatter, at all. Just everything I see through this telescope with this aperture really pops, and stars are just snap right into focus. Really enjoy using it. And the other thing too I like about it, it's pretty compact. It's pretty easy to put it on the Dob mount, and also I like it. It's also that you can actually sit and observe no matter what position in the sky it is, which is really nice. And it moves really well on this metal Dob mount. And it's a really nice sturdy mount. I have no issues with this mount whatsoever. So it's a really nice package, and it's probably one of my favorite scopes that I've ever had, which says a lot. In the 54 years I've been into astronomy. As far as eyepieces, for NGC 2950 was the APM XWA 3.5 millimeter. Which is kind of a newish eyepiece for me. I got it last fall and haven't used it a lot. But this night with 2950, it was just really nice with it. And it has a 110-degree field, and just really nice, really nice. It's another thing too. It's you know, for how big it is, it's not really that heavy. So there's no balance issues or like that with it. But yeah, it's a really nice eyepiece. It was a good buy. And then for NGC 3395 and 3396, the interacting pair was the Batter 6.5 Morpheus. I really like this eyepiece. I got the 12.5 Morpheus first and was so impressed by it that I got the 6.5. I had in my last Galaxy log, I talk about it with the on the 120 ED Apo and on the view of M82, and comparing that with definitely a favorite eyepiece is my 6mm Delos. And in the end, as I talk about in the summary of that Galaxy log, I really enjoyed the view more of the 6.5 Morpheus over the 6 Delos, and that says a lot. Another interesting thing was this night with Rob, with his 20-inch, we were able to compare the 6.5 Morpheus with his 6 Ethos on the Sombrero Galaxy. And there was no doubt that the 6.5 Morpheus gave the better view of the Galaxy itself. The dark lane just seemed more darker, easier to see. The southern part of the Galaxy below the dark lane, it definitely stood out a little more in the Morpheus. The overall field, just more contrasted look to it. The Galaxy was definitely popping a little more, but it was noticeable. We were really surprised. So this is definitely an interesting line, because I've been really impressed by the 12.5 also, and now with this one. And it was interesting that, as I talked about in Galaxy log, of going back and forth between Rob's larger scope, the 20-inch f3, and looking at NGC 3395 and 3396, and picking up detail with the larger scope, and then coming back to the 12-inch, and with this eyepiece, and this eyepiece being so good, and just seemed to really, like I said, the Galaxy's really seemed to pop, to see a little bit more structure. So I think it was definitely a lot had to do with the quality of this eyepiece, of what I was seeing with this pair of Galaxies. And then for the view of NGC 3377 was an APM XW 5mm, 110-degree field. Another really nice eyepiece that I had for a couple of years now, and I think I bought it back in 2019. It was at NEAF, the last NEAF I was at, Northeast Astronomy Forum, and I got it there. And yeah, real impressive eyepiece. This is a nice line. If you know, if you're not, if you're looking for a 110-degree field and or 100-degree field eyepieces, I think this IPM line is really good, and definitely a cost saver over some of the other 100-degree eyepieces. This is really a nice eyepiece. So that's it for this Galaxy log. Clear dark skies and happy galaxy observing.